So hi Jackie, would you please introduce yourself to our class?
My name is Jackie Jordahl, and I am a senior at the University of Idaho, graduating in May with a degree in journalism, PR, and minor in communications.
Congratulations, that's very exciting. So I understand that you were an intern in conference and event planning. Can you tell us about that?
So, what summer was last summer was 2011. So the summer of 2010, I was an intern, and for a nonprofit, Northwest Council for Computer Education, and the gal that I was interning for just took me to all sorts of different event planning and different nonprofit organizations to see how they did their big events that they had each year. And so I kind of got to see the behind the scenes and what the jobs were specifically and what kind of things I could do and stuff like that.
How did you find out about that opportunity?
Well, the gal that I worked for was a family friend, and so she's always been really interested in what I wanted to do, and she kind of understands as a college student you don't always know what you want to do when you graduate exactly, and so it was a good opportunity for me to learn what jobs were out there and what type of, because when you do just a specific major, they're just telling you, public relations, you're going to be someone's publicist. But there's so many different jobs out there, and all these event planning, there's tons of different positions you can do in these event planning things.
So in this case, it was a friend of the family,
Mm-hmm.
or friend that somebody
Yeah.
that you knew that happened to be in this profession. Because you never know where those connections
Exactly.
might be made. So you kind of job shadowed her a bit, if you...
Definitely. I did a lot of hands-on things, but I think her main goal was to get me exposed to as many different event planning jobs that were out there. So I did the Kootenai Medical Center Foundation, and they do the Festival of Trees in Coeur d'Alene each year. So I kind of went and interviewed her, or one of the girls that was in charge of it. And then I did the Davenport Hotel, and they showed me the events and the wedding planning, behind the scenes stuff there, and just basically like how to get the big sports teams to come stay at their hotel and how they do that and incorporate it in with their events. And so each year, the Northwest Council for Computer Education does a huge conference every year. And so it's just a giant event with different vendors and different, they have, the workshops that they have there and all that kind of stuff. And so I job shadowed them a lot on helping them with that. And so I did a lot of stuff, jack of all trades.
So about how many hours did you spend on this internship?
It was 5 days a week, usually from about maybe 8 in the morning till sometime in the afternoon, usually just when she was like, all right, we don't need you anymore.
Was this for a semester then?
It was actually in the summer.
In the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So did you get credit?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That was the best part. It was hitting two birds with one stone, because I got the experience and the credit for school.
Did you have to write a paper or anything?
Yeah, you wrote about your experience, and you check in, or I checked in with my advisor, and then I don't know if you had to do this. You had to send in kind of like the work you did over the summer, but for me, it was more like a portfolio. Like I got to show her all the things that I did in the summer. So,
what did you like best about what you did?
Oh, definitely seeing the different jobs that were out there that I could potentially do when I graduate that I had no idea there were so many different things, especially in event planning and, these nonprofits and their conferences and all that kind of stuff that they do. So it was just an eye-opening experience that I kind of felt like I grew from over the summer and matured, and knowing what there are more things out there than I thought.
Opened your horizons,
exactly.
Broadened your perspective.
Yes.
It gave you all sorts of things that you could potentially do in the future. So did you learn any specific skills that you didn't have before?
I learned skills-wise, let's see. I kind of learned things like when they were putting together their brochures and all that kind of stuff for their conference. I learned how they were doing that, but a lot of it was... One of the things I learned is I need to learn Excel and I need to learn Photoshop. That's something I took away from it. But so we put together that kind of stuff, and I was working a lot with spreadsheets, and so I was kind of dabbling in that. And I guess skills is talking to people and being confident when I'm talking to adults or talking to people that aren't in college anymore, that are professionals. And so I was having to not act like a student anymore and act like a professional. So that was fun. It was really fun.
Well, there might be students who think that, they're not interested in this particular conference planning. Could you explain to them a little bit about how that what you learned could be applied to almost anything that you do?
Oh gosh. Well, the communication thing was a big, learning how to communicate with other people, but just in general, like I think I think event planning is so broad that there's so many different things that you would maybe have to end up doing event planning for some sort of thing that you're doing, whatever career it is. And so I think it's just a good skill and a good thing to know how to do or know what it's about. So if it ever is something that you need, that made no sense.
It does make sense. It means that those skills can be utilized in almost any job.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's absolutely right. So was there something about the internship or something about what you were doing that you didn't particularly care for?
To be honest, no, because I'm a public relations major, so public relations, you're like a publicist for someone or you're representing a client or that kind of thing, and I learned that that's not what I want to do, and I want to do something in event planning, and I want to do something in nonprofits, and so yeah, I kind of veered away from your question.
No, that's okay. No, that's part of what this process is to see kind of how each experience grows on the next one.
So there wasn't anything I really didn't like because it was a total learning experience, and you have to kind of go in it with no expectations and just willing to learn and willing to absorb everything. It might be difficult at the time because I think it was in the summer, so I was really wanting to be out on the lake and stuff, but now looking back on it, it was definitely one of the better experiences I've had in school.
Well, that's really what we were looking to get from you as your input about if it was a valuable experience, and it sounds like it really was. You would recommend it?
100%. I think, well, I worked all through college too, so I never had time for between homework and work for the clubs and stuff like that. So when I did, this is something that is just as important as joining the public relations club. I have this giant portfolio of all the stuff that I got to do this summer and all these people I networked with. I think it's more valuable than being in a club, actually. I have so many business cards and so many things that I realize that I can do, and event planning especially is just so, if you pick something you like in life, there's probably some sort of event planning thing that you can do
and
for it.
And passion is
exactly.
And like what you're doing because you're spending a lot of time
exactly.
doing it. I'm glad you brought up networking, because before we wrap up, you touched a bit on that, but if you would explain how you make contacts with other people by having this internship.
Well, Heidi, who I interned for, she's really forward and really great with talking to people. So I was really nervous at first when she would introduce me to people, and she kind of had like a plan in the back of her head, I think, the whole time of like, okay, you're going to want to meet this person for future, but I didn't really realize it at first. So as the summer went on, I kind of realized that it was important. Okay, for example, we were at a conference in Seattle that she took me to, which was one of the best weekends of my life. But anyways, she took me, and after one of the workshops split, this guy at the is that the one in Spokane, Northern Quest Casino, asked if he could hire me on the spot, and she's like, she's only a junior in college, but so the networking thing was really valuable now that I'm about to graduate and thinking back, okay, well, who did I meet, and that kind of thing.
And potential references.
It was always business cards, because also if I sat down and had a really long conversation with someone, like I talked to someone that was in charge at the Seattle's Visitors Bureau, and I was really interested in what he did and what he had to say. So after every time I talked to someone for an extensive period, I would ask them for their business card so I could write a thank you letter and then thank them for talking to me, because then that they might look back and think, okay, well, I remember talking to her. So
that's a very good tip for other students.
And I have every business card, even from, I was a waitress for a while cocktail at the resort, and so I would talk to people and ask them questions about their jobs, and they'd give me business cards. So even from the internship and just life in general, I have like a box of business cards that I just keep from people that I've met. So networking, I think, is really important.
Fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you giving us insights for the students and internships. If there was any pearls of wisdom or advice you want to give students, could you do that before we wrap up?
I just recommend, the main reason why I recommend doing an internship, besides the credits, is definitely because it opens your eyes to other jobs that are out there besides the basic things that you learn in school or you think you know. There's just tons and tons of other opportunities out there. So I think that's a good reason to
The world,
intern.
the world is your oyster.
Yes.
Thank you so much.